Warrants, bonds, and the tail wagging the dog. Hi everyone, Bob here. Alright, here's the deal. You've got the convertible bond arbitrage players, you know, the ones who short the stock through the bonds. Those bonds come with embedded calls, and their delta-neutral game means they're very, very, very short the underlying. I watched it myself. High-frequency algos literally fighting each other at 21.54 when the second bond offering hit. One new player entered, and suddenly you had both camps running the same play. Long the bonds, short the stock. That created a massive synthetic short interest on GME. That matters because it limits supply of shortable shares, it drives up short interest rates, and it creates liquidity issues in the lending pools. Now layer on top of that the legacy shorts, still rolling swaps from 2021. Put it all together, and you've got a recipe for a violent covering event. When it breaks, it's going to break fast. Fundamentals changed the game. Back in 2019 and 2020, GME was a dead man walking. No cash, no runway, no future. Then destiny happened. The cat happened. The ATMs happened. Dilution happened. The good kind. And suddenly, GME is no longer at risk of bankruptcy. They're generating massive cash. They wiped out all debt, flipped the script, and now they're sitting on a mountain of liquidity. We're talking about $10 billion in cash, over $500 million in Bitcoin. A profitable business, 25 cents EPS gap, 38 cents EPS core. Stores and regions divested, unprofitable ops cut, management delivering exactly what they said they would. Trajectory, $500 million a year profit within reach. Outstanding shares, 447 million. Fully diluted with bonds and warrants, about 590 million. Even then, EPS ramps higher as profitability grows. Institutions see it too. Billions in free 0% bonds is not a coincidence. That's confidence. Enter the warrants record date, October 3rd. For every 10 shares, you get 1 warrant. Strike price, $32, expires October 2026. Up to 59 million warrants issued. Sounds simple, right? Not so much. Every short borrower now owes a warrant. And if you've been around here as long as I have, you know damn well there are more borrowed shares and synthetic shares floating around than GME is ever going to issue warrants for. Gamestop is only handing out 59 million because that's how many should exist. But we know better. So what happens? For true holders like you, me, and institutions, we get our warrants. Or we get shafted by shady brokers who pay cash value. Looking at you, Robin Hood. Shorts and arbs, they get obligations. They've got to deliver something they don't have, which means scrambling in the open market. Liquidity crunch incoming. And yes, that includes the bond arbitrage players, because the company explicitly said bondholders get warrants too. 2030, notes. 1 of 48B outstanding. About 4.95 million warrants. 2032 notes. 268Bs outstanding. About 9.27 million warrants. That's roughly 14.2 million warrants handed straight to bondholders, about 25% of the total. On paper, that supplies them. But here's the kicker. These guys are the ARBs. They're already running delta-neutral hedges. Now they suddenly hold 14 million new long delta instruments. To stay neutral, they've got to short more stock. And they've got to short more stock into the run-up we're in right now. So you get a two-layer squeeze effect. 1, bondholders receive warrants, gain long delta, and must short more GME. 2, meanwhile, non-bond shorts, derivative shorts, and borrowers still owe warrants, forcing them to buy them in the open market. The end result, bondholders ratchet up the short pressure on the equity side, while everyone else fights over a capped warrant pool. Scarcity amplified. And remember, that imbalance only gets worse as the stock runs higher before issuance, because hedges will be dumping more and more shares into strength just to keep their books balanced, which means more and more obligations to deliver on later. Delta neutral. My ass bond arbs want to stay delta neutral, but warrants equal extra long delta. To stay neutral, they've got to subtract delta. How? Sell shares, the same way they've always done it. We saw it at the first bond issuance, when they shorted the ever-loving fuck out of the stock. We saw it again at the second offering. One camp shorting shares to hedge, the other forced to buy back to rebalance. The net effect was amazing to see. Extremely legal downward pressure on the stock, followed by whale teeth when the two of them hit equilibrium. Pro tip, The secret sauce is there to understand their exact position and hedging requirements. Remember 21.54? Pepperidge Farm remembers. But by now they've already eaten a metric fuck-ton of shorts into the book. Warrants add more pressure. To stay neutral, they short harder. But shares are finite. Lending pools are stretched. And when you need something that's scarce, the price doesn't stay flat forever. Hack demand supplies scarcity. This isn't about locking the float or jerking it to the DRS number. This is about the shorts' ability to maintain their positions, to stay alive one more day. Shares to short are finite. Borrow cost spikes when supply dries up. When you can't source shares, you cover. And when you cover, you buy back into strength. This is the squeeze setup. Plain and simple. That's why warrants are the linchpin. When warrants hit, shorts who borrowed shares must deliver warrants. Bond arbs who shorted must deliver warrants. Everyone's fighting over 59 million instruments in a world where demand is multiples of that. Market makers are short gamma on the warrants from day one. That means they buy into strength and sell into weakness. Add in bond arbs shorting to stay neutral, and you've got a feedback loop of volatility. This isn't theory. It's structural. The game. Remember when Ryan Cohen shifted his shares into a marginable, lendable account? Most people saw that as random, or even bearish. But think about it through this lens. Cohen knows borrowed shares carry obligations. He knows that when the warrant dividend hits, brokers have to deliver to true shareholders of record. If his shares are marginable and lendable, they can be borrowed against, and whoever borrows them now owes him warrants too. Ryan Cohen is playing chess, while the dumb stormtroopers of the market, the shorts, are playing checkers. Suddenly their borrow is tied to obligations they physically can't dodge. If Cohen's shares are used in lending pools, he essentially becomes the counterparty, forcing shorts to cough up more obligations down the line. It's not just about him being shareholder-friendly, it's about weaponizing structure. He's turning their own hedging mechanics against them. My plan. As for me, I'm buying the warrants at the ask on launch day. Why? Because warrants are cheap synthetic leverage. If I buy 100 warrants, I'm pressuring shorts as if I'd bought 1,000 shares. And warrants are going to be dirt cheap at issuance, probably under $5. At $5 per warrant, that's like applying 52 times leverage against these fuckwads. And leveraged retail is unstoppable. I won't be exercising them when we blow through $32. Nope. I'll be sitting watching that shit grow while shorts scramble to deliver. Time is on my side, not theirs. The tail wags the dog. As shorts scramble to cover warrants, their margin blows up. They're forced buyers in both GMEWS and GME. Warrants squeeze, stock squeezes. Stock squeezes, warrants squeeze harder. It's a self-reinforcing loop. This is just a story of different players with the same problem. Legacy shorts, bond arbs, and market makers all run into scarcity at once. And as someone very wise said, all shorts are eventually buyers. Conclusion. Okay, now is not the time for FOMO. Let's not get too excited. This isn't next month we're all rich. These leeches will fight, they will stall, they will rehypothecate and kick the can as long as they can. But they can't cheat scarcity forever. Time has been coiling this spring for months. The chart shows it. The options chain is primed. And now the warrants layer structural pressure on top of an already stressed borrow pool. I quadrupled my position in leaps this week, added more shares to my ever-growing stack, and I'm lining up to grab warrants at launch. Not financial advice, just sharing what this ape is doing because I believe this is the play. And I would not want to be short Gamestop right now. They thought they could control the dog. Turns out the tail's about to beat the shit out of them. Let's fucking go.